Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI, bahasham, qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth according to the Bible through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI. And a sincere peace and salutation to all you hopefully let Akim out there, pushing his word in all truth and sincerity, doing the work as YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI has created us to do, so you can wake up and seal the elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and you Israelites, who are scattered amongst the heathen nations that may look like the heathen nations, but your father's seed line goes back to you being a so-called black, Hispanic, or Native American, one of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Hey, Shalom. It's your brother Halak here from the GMS Denver camp, coming back once again through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI with another video. And this is going to be a continuation of the series I'm doing, the true narrative of the Bible, following the history, you see, and the promises made unto our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by the Most High. Because you have it to where these Christians have concocted this false narrative of the Bible, which never deals with the history, which never deals with the fathers of the promise or the fathers of the covenants, you know, and they spew this narrative of all people can be saved, all people are going to receive of the Most High's promises, all people are going to be brought up under the Most High's covenants, and that's not the truth. So the Most High has put the Spirit upon me just to go through the history and read you the history, because that's something the Christian churches and the Christian pastors never do. You see, we focus on what's written, man. We follow the true narrative of the Bible as YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI has commanded us to do. We follow his word, you see, and we move, we preach this word with the proper wisdom, knowledge, and understanding according to the Most High's doctrine, man. We're not giving you dogma, you know what I'm saying, something we concocted, you see, to twist and turn it to fit our own agenda. No, we're giving you everything that's written out of the scriptures the proper way, through the Holy Spirit of YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI. So, in the last video, part 3, I stopped off after Jacob received his blessing from Isaac and Esau received his blessing from Isaac. So I'm just going through like the highlights of the history, highlighting and following, you see, the narrative of the Most High making the promises with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, we're in Genesis 28, and it continues. So Genesis 28:1, it says what? And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Pandanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And the Most High Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee. You see that? This is how the true narrative of the Bible goes, man. Not this BS that you've learned in the Christian church of all people being the Most High's people, of all people being up under the Most High's promises. No. When you go back to the first part of this series, go to part 1, and everything was being established through who? Our forefather Abraham. You see? Then it was passed down to Isaac. Now it's being passed down to Jacob. That's how an inheritance works. It's passed down from generation to generation to generation in a specific bloodline, man. That's what the Bible deals with. The Bible deals with bloodlines. You see, in a chosen bloodline, you see, which runs through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You see? So it goes on to say, Genesis 28:4, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee, and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which is the land of Canaan, which the Most High gave unto Abraham. You see that? The father of Isaac, Abraham passed it down to Isaac, and Isaac is passing his inheritance down to his son, Jacob. You see, it wasn't passed down to Ishmael. It wasn't passed down to Esau. It was passed down from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. You see, this is the history of the Bible. This is the history of the chosen bloodline, man. You see? Now we're going to jump down, because I want to hit the highlights, because it is a lot of reading, a lot of history, and you can go back and read it, go back and read through it for yourself. But I'm just going to hit the major points. I'm not going to read every, every small detail, just the major things, man. So this is Genesis 28:10. It says what? And Jacob went out of Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to rest. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set upon the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of the Most High ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord YAHAWAH bahasham YAHAWASHI stood above it and said, I am YAHAWAH, God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. Do you hear that? You see? These are the promises and oaths that the Most High is making with our forefathers, man. And it doesn't include all nations, because all nations didn't come out of Abraham, all nations didn't come out of Isaac, and all nations didn't come out of Jacob. You see how the Most High is dealing with a specific seed line, a specific bloodline? He said he's the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac. And now he's becoming what? The God of Jacob. And that land that he's lying on, the land that he gave unto Abraham and Isaac, he's going to pass it down to Jacob. Then it's going to be passed down to Jacob's seed. And who came forth from Jacob? The 12 tribes. You see? This is the history that you're not learning in the Christian church, you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. They don't teach you this. They teach you that the God of the Bible is the God of all people, and that's not the case. The God of the Bible, the God of the Bible is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that's it. Now it goes on to say, verse 14 says what? And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all families of the earth be blessed. But you see that. And why is that going to happen? Because the Most High was going to eventually scatter all the seed of Jacob all throughout the world because of their disobedience. That's a part of the curse. And when you go into the prophecies, the Most High tells you that he scattered Israel all over the world, and that he was going to come and redeem us and save us from all over the world. He wasn't talking about saving heathen nations. He's talking about saving the seed of Jacob, the seed of Israel, from all the lands they had been scattered to, and that's going to be the next part we go into. Part 5 is going to be what? Going into the prophecies of how the Most High is going to come and save us from the lands that he's scattered us to, and take us back into the land that he promised unto our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because that's what's written all throughout the scriptures. And this is something that the Christians don't go into. The Christians never mention this, about how the Israelites are going to be scattered and gathered and taken back to the land that the Most High promised to give unto our forefathers. This is something they never talk about. Why? Because they don't follow the true narrative of the Bible. They are going off of dogma. Go look up the word dogma, man. That's what they're teaching unto you. They're not teaching you the truth. You see? So continuing on to 15, it says what? And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken of thee. Do you hear that? That's the Most High reassuring our forefather Jacob that he's gonna fulfill all these promises that he made unto our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is why we go back into the history, because it further builds our faith that the Most High is going to do these things that he said he was going to do. And when you go into the prophets, the Most High makes it clear that he's going to do these things, because he He speaks through the prophets, and he says the same things over and over and over again. We're going to show you in the next part, man, how the Most High continues to reiterate the point of him coming to save the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and taking them back into the land that he promised them to their fathers. And this is something Christians don't go into. But continuing on, it says what? Verse 16, and Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely the Lord, surely Yahawah bahasham YAHAWASHI is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of the Most High, and this is the gate of heaven. You see? Because that's where the kingdom of heaven is going to be what? Established in that land. That land is intended for what? The kingdom of heaven, the headquarters of the kingdom of heaven, to be erected in that land, man. You see, who is the kingdom of heaven for? The seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's it. Verse 18 says what? And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he put for his pillow and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Bethel goes into what? Let's go into our word Bethel real quick. It says house of the Most High, Bethel, man. You see? Bethel, that's the house of the Most High. And that's where the Israelites dwell. The Most High dwells among the Israelites. He doesn't dwell among any other nation, man. He doesn't dwell among you so-called white people. He doesn't dwell among you Hamites, you Africans. He doesn't dwell amongst the Chinese, the Asians, so forth and so on. He only dwells amongst the Israelites. And this is why he's reawakening us to all this information in the last days, because what? He's about to fulfill these promises that he made unto our forefathers, man. You see? So it goes on to say, verse 20. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying that the Most High will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall Yahweh be my power, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be the Most High's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give thee the tenth. I will surely give the tenth unto thee. So you see, now we're gonna jump to chapter 29. Let me see. Now this is the beginning of what? The sons of Jacob coming forth. So this is where Jacob is receiving his wives, Rachel and Leah. Right? So we're gonna jump down. So he obtains his wives. Now we're gonna jump down to verse 31. So it goes on to say, Genesis 29 and 31. It says what? When Yahweh saw that Leah was hated because our forefather Jacob, he really wanted Rachel. You see? But Laban, the Most High put the spirit on Laban to do what? Give him Leah first, as the custom is. The oldest daughter is married out first, then the younger daughter. So that's what happened. Leah was the oldest, so he got Leah first. Then he eventually obtained Rachel as well. But our forefather loved Rachel more than he loved Leah. So the Most High did what? He opened up Leah's womb. But Rachel was barren. You see that? Genesis 29 and 31. And when Yahweh saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren. You see that? And Leah conceived and bare a son and called his name Reuben. This is the beginning of it, man. That blessing that Isaac just gave unto to Jacob of what? Being fruitful. That nations and kings coming out of him. Hey, this is the start of it. You see, it's beginning with what? The firstborn Reuben. And it continues on until his other brothers come forth. So it says what? For she said, surely Yahweh have looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, because Yahweh have heard that I was hated, he have therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. You see? And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, now will I praise Yahweh. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left barren. And when you go into the Hebrew, that is YAHAWAH. Yahweh thanks. You see that? The Most High's name can be found in Judah, man. Yahweh, YAHAWAH. That's Judah in the Hebrew, man. So we know the true name of the Heavenly Father. It's right there, one of the names of the 12 tribes, the 4th son of Jacob, Judah, man. So it goes on. Let's go to so where we at? So yeah, we're going to 31 or 30. Yep, now listen. All right, so this is Genesis 30:1. It says, and when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. Do you see the spirit the women were in back in the day, man? That's what they live for, to have children for their husbands. And now these modern women see having children as a curse, and they're out here aborting their children. You see, when the women in the ancient times would do anything to have children, man. And that just shows you how low this current society we live in is, man. But verse 2 says what? And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in the Most High stead, who have withheld from thee the fruit of thy womb? And she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. So you see that? The women of the ancient world were better than these modern women, man, because Rachel gave Jacob her handmaid Bilhah so she can bear him children, man. Showing you that it's okay for the Israelite man to have multiple wives, man. But that's another topic for, we're not going to go into that, but we're going to continue on in history, man. Verse 4 says what? And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife. And Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, the Most High have judged me, and have also heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had left barren, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. So now Jacob has what? 4 wives. He has Rachel and Leah, and he has their 2 handmaidens, Zilpah and Bilhah. You see? And all of this is to fulfill what? That promise of what? That he made unto our forefather Abraham, of his seed being as the dust of the earth, as the stars of heaven's multitude. This was the beginning of that, man. This also fulfills that blessing that Isaac blessed him with before he left him to enter into Padan-aram. See, the Most High is upholding that, and he's bringing forth all these children for Jacob. You see? So it goes on to say, Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son, and Leah said, a troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son, and Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed, and she called his name Asher. Verse 14, Yep, and Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he will lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee for my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And Slakia, verse 17, and the Most High hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. And Leah said, The Most High have given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, The Most High have endured me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And the Most High remembered Rachel, and the Most High hearkened unto her, and opened her womb, and she conceived and bare a son, and said, The Most High have taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, YAHAWAH bahasham YAHAWASHI shall add to me another son. You see? So that was the history of what? The 12 tribes coming forth, man. You see? And now as we read through the history, you're going to see that what? Everything is going to fall unto the 12 tribes, man. So I want to skip over. Now we're going to get to chapter 31. And we're going to read... what this is going is everything that Jacob received from Laban, man, for all the time he spent laboring and working for Laban. So we'll skip over that. You can go read chapter 31. So let's see. So yeah, man, it's a lot of history, man. A lot of history that's being left out of these scriptures there. And this history, man, what we're reading through, all these events that's taking place, man, everything is founded upon that. You see? The Bible makes no sense when you try to cancel out the history, and that's what the Christians try to do. They'll start in the New Testament right at Matthew and think that everything that from that point on is written about them, and that's not true. You got a whole rich history that you have to go back into to get a proper understanding of what's taking place and why what's being said is being said. You see? So let me see. All right, so this is we're gonna jump to 32. Now this is going into right before Jacob went back into the land of Canaan. He had to go through Mount Seir, so he was about to meet up with Esau. So that's a lot of this chapter goes into that, or the preparations Jacob took before he met Esau. So we're gonna jump down to 24 because this is another major event that took place with our forefather Jacob, right? So this is Genesis 32 and 24. It says what? And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. Now this man was an angel that Jacob was wrestling with. You see, they were actually out there grappling until daybreak, man. Verse 25 says what? And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And this is the type of tenacity that we have to have as the seed of Jacob, man. You see, to continue to fight until we enter into that blessing, man. You see, we have to fight and continue to endure all things that may come upon us, no matter what the tribulation may be. We have to fight through it, man. Just like Jacob fought through his thigh being out of joint. You see, he was holding on to receive that blessing. So it goes on to say, verse 27, and he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with the Most High, and with men, and hast prevailed. You see, his name was changed from Jacob, you see, to Yasha, man. From Jacob to Israel, and Israel in the Hebrew is Yasha. Meaning what? He is a prince of the power, man. Or he's a prince with power. You see that? And out of Israel came what? Came forth what? The Israelites. You see? Now going on, verse 29 says what? And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of that place Peniel, for I have seen the Most High face to face, and my life was preserved. You see? So that's another major part of the history, the name change of our forefather Jacob to Israel. You see, and that's where the Israelites derive from. You see? So anytime you read about Israel and Jacob, it's talking about the same person, man. You see? Now, some more history. Let me see. And this is gonna be the end of the fourth part, man. So, this is gonna be the end of it. And then we'll start going into the prophecies, because we ran down what? The relationship that was established with Abraham. The relationship that was established with the relationship between the Most High and Abraham being established, the relationship between the Most High and Isaac being established, and also the relationship between the Most High and Jacob and his seed being established. You see, that's the true narrative of the Bible. That's what the history goes into. And as you read all throughout the Old Testament, man, the Most High is dealing with what? The seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all the way through. And that continues over into the New Testament. It's not some new type of narrative being followed in the New Testament. You see? The New Testament, the Old Testament and the New Testament are both directed and given unto the Israelites, man. The seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this has nothing to do with you heathen nations, man. You see, you might not like it, but that's just the truth of the matter. You see? So, we'll go into this. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll jump down to verse 9. Yeah, we'll jump down to verse 9. Let's get into it, and we'll wrap it up after this. Slakia 35 and 9. Slakia. Now listen. This is Genesis 35 and 9. It says what? And the Most High appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padanaram and blessed him. And the Most High said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. So the Most High renamed Jacob, he renamed him Israel, man. Verse 11, and the Most High said unto him, I am the Most High Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. This is the same thing the Most High told to our father Abraham. He said this. You see, he said the same thing to Isaac. And now he's saying the same thing to Jacob. Those kings are talking about who? The Israelites, man. You see? This doesn't apply to all nations. It only applies to the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As we go on to read, it says what? And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. You hear that? Do you see it? Once again, the Most High is being very specific, man. He never mentions anything about all nations. He specifically says Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All nations do not have a part in this. The Holy Bible is only for the nation of Israel. Verse 13 goes on to say what? And the Most High went up from him in the place where he talked with him, And Jacob set up a pillar. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he taught with them, even a pillar of stone. And he poured the drink offering upon it, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of that place where the Most High spake with him, Bethel. You see that? So that's the end of the history, man. Just the major events and the establishment of the promises and the covenants between the Most High and our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that's the end of it, man. You see? So now what we're going to do, since we went through that history to show you all the things the Most High has promised unto our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we're going to go into the prophecies where the Most High continues to reiterate the same points, you see, that he made unto our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of what? Fulfilling the promises, the oaths, and the covenants that he made unto them. He's telling us through the mouth of the prophets over and over and over again how he's going to bring these things to pass, just as he's promised unto our forefathers. Hey, and this narrative is reiterated all the way through the Old Testament and all the way through the New. You see? So the next part will be us going to some of the prophecies, man. And I might make 2-3 more parts of just going into prophecies of the Most High, talking to the Israelites through the prophets of how he's going to fulfill all these things that he's promised unto our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. You see, to show you that this is only for Israel, that this is only for the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as the Most High has promised. And so with that, man, I'm going to give all praise, all honor, all glory to YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI, bahasham, qadash. A double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth according to the Bible through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI. And a sincere peace and salutation to all you hopeful I came out there pushing this word in all truth and sincerity, doing the work as YAHAWAH, bahasham, YAHAWASHI has created us to do. And with that, I'm going to say shalom, wa, and abba,